Milwaukee's acquisition of PJ Tucker is a huge deal. On March 17th, the Bucks traded the DJ duo to Houston for PJ Tucker and Rodions Kurucs. Bucks GM John Horst did some GM magic to reacquire the Bucks' 2021 draft pick from the George Hill trade, which will be swapped for Houston's second rounder in 2021. This move also allowed Milwaukee to avoid the step-you-in rule and give the Rockets some draft capital for PJ. Some may simply dismiss the move because they see Tucker's putrid 2021 stats, but Tucker's impact goes way deeper than stats, and Tucker's stats don't tell the whole story. PJ is probably having his worst statistical season since his rookie year, scoring just 4.4 points per game on 36.6% shooting from the field and 31.4% from three. In my opinion, there are three reasons for PJ's downtick in production. The first reason was the whole attitude in Houston. PJ was one of the few Rockets that was loyal to James Harden and those Houston teams of the past 3 years. At the beginning of the season, there were reports PJ wanted to sign an extension with Houston, but the Rockets didn't want to extend PJ. I think there was an attitude between both Houston and Tucker that both sides wanted to move on from each other, and it's tough to play basketball in that environment. The second reason for PJ's down statistical year is the fact that PJ Tucker is the perfect example of a role player. PJ has hit more corner threes than anyone in the NBA over the past 3 seasons. He's a catch and shoot, pick and pop, spot up shooter that needs playmakers to set him up. This season, PJ was receiving passes from John Wall, playing basketball for the first time since '07 and since his name was at top of the Billboard charts. The looks he'll get on the Bucks will be much closer to the ones he was getting on the Harden-led Rockets. And the last reason for PJ's statistical downturn has to be his age. I'm stoked about this trade, but I have to acknowledge that PJ is 35 years old and there is a chance that he's simply starting to regress. However, if you just go back to last season, PJ shot 36% from 3 and even better in the playoffs. And the last thing I'll touch on about the statistics is even though it feels like Tucker is struggling from 3 so far this season, his 31.4 percentage from 3 is exactly the same percentage that Brook Lopez shot last year. If Tucker can find his stroke, he's a better and more decisive shooter than Brook. But like I said, PJ's impact goes way deeper than statistics. The biggest thing PJ will provide the Bucks with is defensive versatility. Despite being named to the all-defensive team last year, Brook Lopez has consistently shown in the playoffs that he can't stop talented shooters. Brook can't blitz picks, and he can't switch screens. The only way Brook Lopez can play pick-and-roll defense is by playing drop coverage, but elite shooters eat up drop coverage.
When you see a 5-man in drop coverage, are you saying to yourself, dead meat? Like, I've got an easy pull-up 3?
Absolutely.
I sometimes get why teams do it at times, but I feel like teams have sold out so much. Some teams have sold out so much on having the 5 just drop all the way in the paint and protect the rim, right? And it allows players like you, I said this the other day, to actually to make about Devin Booker.
Like when you have someone who can operate in the pick and roll like that, it's really almost impossible to defend.
If I'm coming off a screen and the big is back, I'm shooting it every time. Because
nobody's taking mid-range jumpers like that anymore, so I'm not going to keep going to the big. Like, usually if I take a mid-range shot, it's like I'm attacking and then I end up right there and I don't have anywhere else to go, and I just create some space and I end up getting to that shot. But if the big is back, I'm raising up for 3 every time. During this hot streak, did any of the teams change their coverages? When you were averaging 50, I feel like I watched it.
Was Utah one of the teams? I feel like I watched that game, and they were and they were just in drop coverage.
And Gobert was back, and they was telling them to get up, but it's like some bigs are so used to their job being to just be in a drop coverage that it's habit.
I just heard the coaches like, get up, but like I would be raising up to shoot, and they're yelling at him, get up, so. And then we played him a few weeks later in Utah, and he was back again, and I had like 40 something, so it was like.
Drop coverage, I don't understand it, man, especially when you're dealing with guards that can shoot. Drop coverage, I don't understand it, man, especially when you're dealing with guards that can shoot.
This issue has shown itself in multiple playoff runs in a row for the Bucks. In the Eastern Conference Finals loss to the Raptors, it was Kawhi, Lowry, and Fred VanVleet consistently getting any jumper they wanted. In the loss to the Heat, it was Goran Dragic, Jimmy, and Tyler Herro that combined to average over 50 points a night. Guards that could score at every level have destroyed the Bucks in the playoffs. But it's not just that. Lopez can't guard the shooting bigs either. Gasol, Ibaka, Adebayo, and Vucevic have all put up huge games against Lopez and the Bucks because Lopez can only play one way. Tucker will change that. PJ finally gives the Bucks a 5-man lineup that can switch almost any pick and roll and feel comfortable in that matchup. PJ can battle inside against almost any big in the league and will be able to contest shots against guards and wings at the bare minimum much better than Brook does. Plus, one of the things that Tucker was praised for up until the moment he left Houston was his defensive communication. PJ will be able to blitz pick and rolls and get back to his man, and he'll also be able to do backside switches when guys like Dante DiVincenzo or Pat Connaughton get switched onto someone too big. While most of the Bucks' playoff woes has been blamed on their offense, in my opinion, the defense has been a bigger issue, especially down the stretch of games. The Bucks' defensive rating in the fourth quarter in the series versus the Heat last year was 117.9, or 15.2 points worse than their regular season defensive rating. And in the fourth quarter of the 4 straight losses versus the Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Bucks posted a defensive rating of 116.3, or 12 points worse than their defensive rating during the regular season. Teams have consistently run pick and rolls against Lopez's man for great looks down the stretch of playoff games, and with the acquisition of Tucker, they won't be able to do that. In order to make a legit run at the finals, the Bucks needed to increase their defensive versatility, and this trade did just that. No longer is Milwaukee going to be forced to play drop coverage because they need to play Brook Lopez. No longer will teams know exactly how to attack the Bucks on each and every play and how to avoid Giannis on every play. Coach Bud now has the ability to change up his schemes, and if he doesn't this postseason, it's probably time for the Bucks to move on. The Bucks now have multiple lineups that can match up against almost any team in the conference. By keeping Brook, Milwaukee can totally match Philly's size, if not go bigger, with Drew, Chris, Giannis, PJ, and Brook, throwing multiple defenders at Embiid constantly. Then, they can also go small to match a team like Brooklyn by replacing Brook with either Pat or Dante. While this move might not push the Bucks over the hump, in the long run, it at least gives them a fighting chance against the Brooklyn Nets. I also want to add that I think Kurucs is better, younger, more athletic, and has more upside than DJ Wilson, and he also has a year left on his deal, so that was a good part of the trade as well. I'm not sure if he's going to get any playing time because now all of a sudden there's a bit of a logjam in the front court, but he's a better asset and player than DJ Wilson moving forward. I'm not saying the Bucks landing PJ Tucker is like the Warriors landing Andre Iguodala in 2016, because he won't make that level of impact. But this move is very similar to the Warriors benching Bogut for Iggy in the 2016 finals. PJ's versatility will unlock a new version of the Bucks and of Giannis on the defensive end, and hopefully push them over the edge. Now all that Milwaukee will need is their own name for the death lineup. I'm thinking something creamy.
This is Mixed Production.